Welcome, Gunrunner.
Easter eggs have been around since the earliest days of video games, with the infamous hidden screen crediting developer Warren Robinett on Adventure for the Atari 2600 being probably the most famous example from those formative years. They don't really seem to be a thing anymore, sadly, as publishers would rather charge you for extra content instead. And when I say Easter eggs, I definitely don't mean cheats, in case you wondered. They are very different things to me. The former being a secret part of the game that extends it in some way, be it something that adds extra gameplay or something special to surprise you, whilst the latter just lets you, well, cheat at the game by making you invincible, skip to the end, give you super weapons or something like that. So all the things featured in this video are something extra added to the game, be it something quite easy to find or something difficult to unlock. And it has to be said that there are some seriously good Easter eggs for the Atari Lynx, as you'll soon find out. I'll not only explain how to activate the special secret, but also show you it working, so you can see if it's worth it, and drop a link down in the description for a page that lists all of them so you can come back to them at any time. Now let's get going and unwrap all those tasty Easter eggs, shall we?
Coming to a screen near you in over 4,000 colors with full stereo sound on the largest portable video game screen in the world. Free only on Atari Lynx. Batman Returns, a $50 value, free with any purchase of the Atari Lynx game system, now for a limited time only.
I'm going to start with this one because not only is it one of the best known, but also probably the best Easter eggs of all time, and I wanted to start with a bang. This doesn't just add something new to the game, it adds a whole new game. The story goes that when Handmade Software showed Battlezone 2000 to the producers at Atari, they didn't like it very much, and told them they wanted something much closer to the original wireframe arcade game and sent them back to the drawing board. But instead of completely scrapping their game, Handmade simply hid it within the ROM for their new version, and I'm really not sure how they got away with it, because it must have pushed up the game card size massively. The real Battlezone 2000 uses a mix of polygons and sprites, a bit like Warbirds, with the Lynx's amazing scaling and panning capabilities pushed to the max. There's absolutely no doubt how amazing this looks, and it's a much deeper game with loads of new features. But that's the problem for me, and likely one of the reasons Atari didn't like it, because the 2000 version is really complicated, and you won't get anywhere without reading the instructions, which you can easily find online, thankfully. Once you do get to grips with it though, there is a lot of fun to be had. To unlock the hidden game, you have to go to the tank configuration screen, the one with the red flashing bars, and then press option 1 3 times, and then immediately restart the Lynx. This might take a few attempts to do though, as it seems to like a set speed, and will only work when the game has first been booted up. Okay, so this next one isn't strictly an Easter egg, as it's easy to find and doesn't need to be unlocked, but I'm always surprised to learn that lots of people don't seem to know about it, so I thought I'd better include it in this video. Especially for those who bought the Atari Lynx Collection 2 for the Evercade, because it has Electrocop on it, and this makes it even more worthy of purchase. As the hardcore Lynxers would already know, there are 3 games hidden within the computer terminals that you'll find on every level. You simply go to the directories, find the one that says Games, and you'll discover simple versions of Asteroids, Breakout and Sliding Puzzle, with some funky music in the background. Complete each game and you're greeted with a sarcastic message. Shame it doesn't give you a bonus weapon of some kind, they really missed a trick there. From one Epic's game to another, they all seem to have a secret of some kind, with this awesome Easter egg for Chips challenge, which coincidentally was actually the first one I ever tried out on a real Lynx, as this was one of the first games I bought back in the day. By inputting the password MAND on the appropriate screen, you're taken to an amazing Mandelbrot generator. I'm not going to explain how these fancy images work because, well, it's really complicated and would take too long to explain, but I will tell you that it involves a lot of maths and was first put down on paper in 1978, but it wasn't inputted into an actual computer until 1980, when one Benoit Mandelbrot inputted the fractal set into a huge IBM mainframe and waited very patiently for the result. Once 16-bit home computers came onto the scene, people started to recreate the program for those too. But I think this is the only instance of a console pulling it off, which really shows the power of the Lynx. It takes a while to draw, so you'll have to be patient, and every time you zoom in on a section, you'll have to wait for the image to update, but there's loads to play around with here if you're interested, and you can even add some fancy colour cycling effects into the mix too. I was umming and ahhing about whether to include this next one, but I needed another game to make it a nice even 10 and decided to put this one in. As you can already see, this is an Easter egg for the only Activision produced game on the Atari Lynx in Shanghai. Those who have played it will know it's pretty tough to complete many of the tile sets, although certainly possible. I have completed all of them myself, and Shanghai is still my favourite Atari Lynx puzzle game. So if you're one of those people who has failed time after time and is desperate to see the completion screen, this special secret is the one for you. To activate this Easter egg, you need to choose the tile formation you want to complete and then use option 1 to open the in-game menu. One of the choices here is see the high scores, and you need to select this and then press pause. Once the paused message appears, you have to hold down option 1, option 2 and the B button and then press up and right on the joypad whilst these buttons are held down. It will then reveal the lovely looking end screen for you in all its glory. This next one is actually the only Comlinks themed Easter egg on this list, but can also be played on your own too, though it's very boring if you don't have other people to compete with. And it's only right that this one is for Todd's Adventures in Slime World, the only Lynx game to support up to 8 people over Comlinks, although good luck finding 7 more people to play with. To activate a secret bubble bursting game, you need to go to the game summary screen, which is found in the same place you select levels. You just have to scroll through the different options. Once you've entered this screen, you need to go through each page until you find the one showing Todd covered in slime. Then press option 1. The screen will then change to one showing a disgusting looking slime bubble, and hitting the fire button will make this expand, like it's being blown up with an air pump. Eventually the bubble will burst, spraying slime all over the screen, and a score is awarded. Then the game repeats. On your own, there is obviously no challenge, but over Comlinks this becomes a battle to see who can pop the bubble first, which is actually pretty fun. The first Lynx game I ever bought, Road Blasters was also reported as being the handheld's best-selling game, and I can quite believe it, because it's a superb conversion of the arcade game by D. Scott Williamson, who later programmed both Toki and Stun Runner. And remember his name because he plays an important part in this one. To launch this Easter egg into action, you simply have to start the game as normal on rookie difficulty and then immediately hold down left and accelerate so your car sticks to the edge of the road, and then wait until you hit a tree. After crashing, the screen will change to a neat digitised image of the coder himself with the text "Ghost in the Machine" floating around him. But this isn't it, because in the top right hand corner you'll see a number, and this is actually a level select. By pressing either option 1 or option 2 you can cycle through it and make your choice. The very last stage it lets you select is 49, but you might be aware that this isn't actually the last level, as they go up to 50. So if you want to see the ending, you'll need to then beat both level 49 and level 50 to see it in all its glory with its awesome music, which is sadly ruined slightly by the dodgy emulation here. Make sure you try this one on real hardware for the best result.
Fuel load. Fuel level critical. Detect fuel load.
And back to the Epix games with Lynx's launch title Gates of Zendokon, programmed by Peter M. Engelbright, who also did Slime World for the Lynx, which I looked at earlier of course. This also has to be one of my favourite Lynx Easter eggs, and the first time I saw it I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen, so hopefully you like it too. Like a few of the other games in this video, this one is activated via the password entry screen, which you can bring up by pressing option 1 on the main title screen. Once this comes, you need to enter the code TRYX to spell tricks, and you appear to start the game as normal on a very hard level where tanks start moving along the bottom of the screen, unleashing a barrage of shots and missiles in your direction. But thankfully you don't have to deal with them for very long, because almost immediately you need to move down the screen with your shield activated and move through the round glowing red hole in the floor. Then you'll find your ship underneath it and just have to negotiate a few rather minor obstacles before entering the warp gate. This gate will then transport you to the secret level, where you not only get to pick up all the different power-ups without any opposition, but also get to kill all the people responsible for both the game and the Lynx itself. You'll see floating digitised heads of Lynx luminaries such as RJ McCall, Dave Needle, Alex Rudis, Peter himself and many more. They don't actually attack, just float around, so shoot them down, enjoy the massive explosions and see how many different people you can spot before entering the warp gate to continue the game as normal. Anyone who has played the robot-themed Boulder Dash rip-off Crystal Mines 2 will know that the game is absolutely huge. There are 150 normal stages, plus 30 bonus levels, and each one has its own password. However, there is one special stage that you likely don't know about, and that's what I'll be unveiling for you here. Level 0 is a secret vault that contains tons of different goodies, and nothing will kill you or set you back. You simply have to enter the password 0 to enter level 0, and then just run around the screen and pick up everything before entering the exit as usual. Because this is level 0, you then move on to level 1 to start the game as normal, except you now have a load of extra items in your bag to give you a head start. I should also mention that there is also a level select cheat for this one too. Enter Kimi, K-I-M-I, as your password, but don't press the A button to start the game. Instead, hold down option 1 and option 2 and press B. You'll hear a sound like a machine gun, and you'll see the first level down in the dirt appear before you on the screen. Press A to skip ahead to the next level, or press B to move back through the list. When you see the level you want to play, press any direction on the control pad to start the game. A nice little bonus to this one. Like Peter Engelbright, Chuck Somerville is another man with a second game on this list. Because as well as Chip's Challenge, we also have his other Lynx game, the awesome Zalo Mercenary, which is one of my favourite games on the handheld full stop. This is one of the better known Easter eggs for the Lynx 2, and allows you to play Conway's Game of Life, which for those who don't know is a cellular automation that was devised by the famous British mathematician John Horton Conway in 1970. This is a zero-player game, meaning that its evolution is determined by its initial state, requiring no further input from you. You simply interact with the Game of Life by creating an initial configuration and observing how it evolves. It is Turing complete and can simulate a universal constructor or any other Turing machine. And that interactive part is important, so I'll come back to that in a minute, but I'd better tell you how to activate it first. To do this, you need to enter the character select screen as normal and then hold down option 1 whilst pressing up, down, left, right, up on the joypad, and then the Game of Life will start. You can stop this simulation by pressing pause, press option 1 to restart it using the current characteristics, which is important as you'll discover, and option 2 will change the parameters, so instead of wrapping around the screen, the evolving cells will hit a wall around the perimeter. Press A or B and you will enter drawing mode. This is where it gets more fun, because you can either draw formations, then hit option 1 to restart and watch them evolve, or you can hit restart to clear the screen and then just draw whatever you like a Lynx-shaped Etch-a-Sketch. There are also a bunch of other interesting features and options too, that let you control the way the formations evolve by using various button combinations. But it would take ages to go into all of them here, so I'll let you look them up online if you're interested in finding out more. This last entry is actually one for an aftermarket game rather than a commercial release like all the others. You see, Lexus is a really interesting puzzle game that was produced by William Shadowsoft that was never released sadly, despite being complete, but later picked up and published by Songbird Productions. However, you don't need a real game card here because there is a leaked prototype version of the ROM online that you can use with an emulator instead. I decided to save this one until the end, not just because Lexus is the only aftermarket game on the list, but also the only game in this video that is played vertically. It's also one of the best Easter eggs out there for the Lynx 2, as like Battlezone 2000, which we started off this video with of course, Lexus contains a hidden game you can play, a version of the classic Namco arcade game Galaga no less. It is somewhat simplified and has no sound sadly, but it is fully playable and you can have quite a bit of fun with it too. The only bad part is trying to activate it, because this can prove quite tricky. Start by going to the table of contents screen as usual, and then press left right, up down, option 1 and finally option 2. You have to do this quite fast at a consistent speed, which is why it can be quite tricky to enter. After you've done this, just choose your regular game of pages. It may seem that the game simply starts as usual, but you'll soon see that you get an easy finish by completing the word Scientology with the missing T. After this, you complete the game and get to enter your name in the high score table as normal. And then it tells you that you've activated the special bonus game and the mini version of Galaga starts, which you can then play as normal. On an interesting side note, Carl Forhan, the owner of Songbird, decided to take this version of Galaga, separate it from Lexus, polish it up a bit and release it as a standalone game called Microvaders. But this soon became so much more, as he improved it further and it very much became its own game. This was released quite recently, so if you're hankering for more, then head on over to the Songbird website, which I've linked down in the description, and buy yourself a copy.
I like Lynx, the screen is bigger! I like Lynx, more can play at the same time!
Lynx has 16 pies. I mean bits!
I like Game Boy.
3 out of 4 characters prefer Lynx. Buy Lynx now, get NFL game free!
And that ends my look at a selection of 10 amazing Easter eggs for the Atari Lynx. Are there any others that you can think of that I should have included here, or do you have some stories about discovering these Easter eggs that you want to share? I always love to read your views and comments, so please get typing below this video. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube members for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: D. Vaughan, Albert Davis, Richard Baker, Martin Wiggins, Peter Grantham, Bernard Santu, Mins, Classic Gamer 74, Josh Hartman, Jonas Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitsune, Grady Haynes, Paul Daniel, Seth A. Robinson, Kalimatorn, Carl Olsen, Mark Strickland, Big Chuzzle, Carl Cloping, Black Siren, John Alberino, Christy Cream, Justin Cooney, Tailboy 2011 and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support this channel, then you can now join as a member for as little as £2 a month, where you'll get access to exclusive videos and updates and much more. Just click the button on my community page to get started. My Patreon is also still available if you prefer to support me in other ways too. I've been the Laird, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.